Hi, friends, it's Bonnie. You have a buyer and you're ready to write an offer, and I'm super excited for you. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the way I do it. I'm going to show you the steps that I do it to keep it so it's as organized as possible. That's what I like to do. I do a lot of the front loading so that it takes throughout the escrow, it's much easier. So, let's get started, okay? First thing I'm going to do is share my screen with you and share, okay? So, oh, don't look at that. That's cheating. Okay, this is the property that my client wants to buy, and it normally comes up on this one. So this is the client that the property that my client is interested in buying. Now, up until this point, before we're ready to write an offer, my client has given me proof of funds, which is a financial statement. I have a lender pre-approval letter, and they've already signed the BRBC. So they are in contract with me as their agent. I've shown them the property. They want to write an offer. I have all the documentation I need. So the next thing is oh, and CMA, right? So I've already run comps on it and made sure our pricing is good. So my client, isn't this house cute? So my client wants to write on this offer or this property. So we were looking up the property. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look really carefully what the confidential agent remarks are. Those are remarks that are from agent to agent. The public can't see it. And sometimes they have offer instructions for you, the agent. So in this case, there isn't any instructions in here. But what it does say in here is escrow has been pre-opened with placer title. So I'm going to notate that. And if my client is good with it, then we're gonna put that in our offer that escrow and title will be with placer title. Okay. Then we're going to look down. We're going to see, is it in an HOA? And sure enough, it is. It's in an HOA with $67 HOA dues. So we'll notate that it's HOA on our offer. Then we're going to look and see what's included. Now, these appliances that are listed here, most of them are built in, but it does say a freestanding refrigerator and it does say microwave. I don't know if that's built in or not. I would know that if I saw the house. But in this case, it's pretend, right? So we're going to write that in our offer that these convey because they're listed here. They may or may not, but they're listed in here. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, I like to save this in my file. So remember that we've talked about having a file. So let me open up my files here. We've talked about having a file and organizing. So these are my files for 2026, properties 2026. And then under buyers is this buyer, which is Mickey Mouse, not to be considered or confused with Mickey Mouse. It's Mickey Mouse, 2 S's. So when I open up Mickey Moose's file, these are the things I saved: the BRBC, the CMA, the lender letter, and the proof of funds. That's what I have so far. And if there's anything else pertinent, I'll save it in there. So those are those files. Here, I want to save this into that file. I will save this display of agent full with all photos right there. Agent full with all photos. I'm going to save this as a PDF and save it in those files so that I have this as a documentation of what the house looked like and everything that was listed when we were writing our offer. Then I'm going to also come over here under tax records. I'm going to click on tax records and I'm going to launch Realist. And this is going to be information that I'll need for my offer, right? I'm going to need Ashley's name. Ashley is the seller. So we're going to launch Realist. And then when that launches, I'm going to save that as a PDF. And I'll save that into the file folder to keep it in there. Okay, so I'll save this right here. We'll just hit print and save as a PDF. And that has everything I'm going to need on there as well. Okay, so those are the things that you're going to do to prepare and get ready for writing your offer. Now we're going to go to CAR forms, car.org. And we're going to actually get started. Okay, we have everything, we're prepped and ready, our files are in order, and we're going to get started on the actual offer itself. So first thing we're going to do is open up a transaction. Okay, I like to use the address of the property and not necessarily the name of the client, because sometimes you write an offer and it doesn't get accepted, and then you write another offer on another property, it doesn't get accepted. And if you have too many names, you get confused of which transaction is your client's. So I do it by the address. So we're going to do new, and I always do the classic until they tell us we can't use it anymore. Okay, new purchase. And it goes by the address. So we're going to, in the name, I'm going to put the address, and the address was 3163 Foreland Street. Okay. And then residential is what it is. And then I like to connect it to MLS Connect, because what that does is it pulls information from MLS to your all your documents. So the MLS number of the property is 226001974. I have already looked it up in preparation for this. We're going to check the box to include the photo, and we're going to find it. And sometimes it does not include the photo here, and sometimes it does. But more importantly, we're going to make sure that it pulls the information here, because that's the information it's going to pull from MLS over to our forms, because they're connecting MLS and car forms right now. And sometimes it takes a little while. We have to wait for this little spinny thing because internet or what have you. I'm in the office right now, and sometimes the internet's just a little bit slower. So we're going to wait a little bit, and we're going to have a little drink of our tea while we're waiting. Yep, and we're waiting, and there it is. Look at that. So we have the information. It's good to go. We're going to say use listing. In this case, it did not pull a picture, right? We're going to hit use listing. Okay. Save. Okay, here's our transaction. As you can see, it pulled the information in here. I don't have to type any of that in, which is awesome. We're going to go over here to all forms. And what I want you to do is use a cover sheet first. Always use a cover sheet when you start a transaction. It takes a couple of minutes extra at the beginning, and I know you're excited to jump in that RPA. However, the cover sheet pulls all the information you put in it. One time you input the information, and it pulls it to all further forms that you use for this transaction. It'll save you a whole bunch of time in the long run. So take a few minutes before each transaction, buyer or seller, and fill out a cover sheet. So in this case, it's a cover sheet, and we want a purchase contract. Now notice how both of those turned blue. That just indicates that we've already have it in our transaction. It's just a visual. Okay, so when we go to our cover sheet, now we're going to put our information in. We're going to check this box, and our buyer is Mickey, M-I-C-K-E-Y, Mousse, not to be confused with Mouse. And then his wife, guess what his wife's name is? You guessed it, Minnie Mousse. Okay, so these are our buyers right now. And then the sellers, you're going to put her name, and I forgot what her name is, but we're going to look on our tax records, and we're going to put her name. But for this, we're going to say her name is Daisy Duck. Okay, so Daisy Duck is the seller. I don't remember who the actual seller was. And then you're going to check that box for Daisy to sign anything. And then we're going to go down, and all the property information is there. We will add what we see fit to put on here. We're going to mark the box residential. You can put the purchase price in here that your client is offering. I just wait until the actual form because you only put it in there once. Now, escrow information. Remember that they put on the MLS that escrow is already pre-opened with placer title. My client, Mickey and Minnie, they said placer title is fine. So I'm going to put placer title in here as our escrow company. And then right here's the broker information. It automatically pulls mine in because it's my forms. Only it didn't do my office number because I must not have it in there, but there we go. And then mine is in here. You'll fill in your number here and the office number here. This is always going to be your phone number. Okay. And we want it to be your phone number because we don't want anybody to call the front desk looking for us. If they call the front desk, they're just going to turn around and transfer the call to us. I want people to call me directly. And then this is going to pull in the seller's information because you did an MLS Connect. So it automatically pulls the seller broker information in. You'll have to put in Julie's phone number or whoever's phone number. You'll have to add that phone number in. But it already put all this in there. Made it easy peasy for you. I don't put any of the lender or the appraisal information because I'm not using this as a contact sheet. I don't need it for my offer or my information. Title information, I am going to put that in there because I do need that. And up here, our escrow and title are one, so they're the same company. Southern California and some other areas, they are separate. They're two different companies, but here it's the same. So it's placer title. I'm not going to put pest. Now, disclosure source, when we looked at the attachments on MLS, it did have a disclosure or a natural hazard disclosure. So that was with disclosure source. So I'm going to put disclosure source on there. My client was okay with that. So I'm going to put it as disclosure source, match it up with what they already pulled. Home warranty, my client has looked at the brochures I shared, and Mickey and Minnie have decided they want to go with Old Republic. I'm just picking that because it's the first one in this case, but you would share a few with your client. Your client will pick which one they want, and then you can put that in. I don't have any of the HOA association information, so I'm not going to put anything here. We don't have that just yet. I'm not going to put this in because it doesn't affect any of my other forms that are coming. This, again, is for you to use this as a contact sheet for yourself. So I have all that information in there. I'm going to hit save. And guess what? Now it's going to flood over to my other forms. Now, once we've done that, we are ready to write our offer. Okay, so we're going to go to the California Residential Purchase Agreement. I'm not going to open my previous. I'm going to start a new workspace because I want to just work on one document at a time. Otherwise, it would pull in the cover sheet. So the first form is the AD form. This is going to be your first form in any contract you use. It is your agency disclosure, AD, agency disclosure. And this is basically explaining your role, a listing agent's role, seller's agent, buyer's agent, if you were doing dual, and what all your responsibilities are. It's very important that you go over this form with your clients. For some reason, it does not check the box here, so you're going to have to physically check those boxes for them to sign. Notice how it pulled everything in. I don't have to put any of this information in. It pulled it from the cover sheet. Okay, then we're on to the purchase agreement. Now we're going to click date prepared, which is today's date. This date prepared is any forms following this that refer to the RPA, and it says RPA dated. This is the date you're going to put in, not the date signed or agreed upon. This is the date prepared is what you're going to put in whenever anything's referring to this. It's put our Mickey and Minnie in here, the address. It filled all this out for us because we put it on the cover sheet. Now down here, seller's brokerage. The seller is this brokerage is representing the seller, and this brokerage, mine, is representing the buyer. Now, if it was another KW Roseville, then we would hit both. We would check both boxes. Only KW Roseville, not another KW like KW, Monterey. It would not be the same because we don't have the same broker. Okay, so only KW Roseville. And notice it has our numbers in there already. Now we're going to put the purchase price in here. And what's the price that the client wants? My client wants to write it for $437. Okay. And the close of escrow, they want it to be for 30 days. Oops. It automatically defaults an expiration of offer for 3 days. You can put a date in there if you'd like and a time. This is all going to be part of your negotiations of what you do with your client, okay? Loan amount. Now, whatever loan amount your client is getting, you will find that on the lender letter. And in this case, the loan is going to be for $250,000. So they're putting, getting quite a their loan is 57%. See how it already put it on there? it's conventional. And this says that the balance, because it does the math for you, this is the purchase price. Oh, I forgot the deposit. Okay, so the initial deposit is your earnest money deposit. Typically, that's about 1 or 2%. 1% is the a lot that people use. So in this case, my client's going to put $5,000 deposit. Okay, so putting a little over 1%. So the deposit plus the loan amount come from this will tell you how much they need to bring. This is their cash to close. Okay. And again, you're going to follow what your lender letter says on here. Okay, then the next, and you're going to check the box. So if it's conventional, you'll just leave it. It defaults to conventional. This right here, initial deposit, is due within 3 days. Your earnest money deposit is due within 3 days to escrow, unless you say otherwise. And it automatically defaults to wire transfer unless you say otherwise. So if they want to do a personal check or a cashier's check, you're going to check the box and say cashier's check. But up here, it just defaults to wire transfer, and you have to leave it at that, okay? Then we're going to go down to the next section of the grid. This whole thing right here is called the grid on both pages, grid. One of my favorite things about the grid is that right here, this paragraph, you notice these paragraphs, following the grid has a definition. So right here, purchase price, that's defined in paragraph 5 and 5B. So if we go down to paragraph 5, 4, 5, this all describes 5 and 5B describes the purchase price, and it explains it. And they all have references, which that's one of my favorite things about the grid. Okay, so all of these will just go to that paragraph if you want explanation on it. All right, so now if your client wants a credit, they're going to mark this box and ask for a credit from the seller, and it goes towards closing costs only. Then let's see, broker compensation. So we're going to check this box, seller payment to compensate buyer's broker. So if the buyer is asking the seller to compensate the buyer's compensate the buyer's broker's compensation amount, we're going to check that box, and you're going to put the percentage that you agreed upon in here. Okay. If it's all cash, you're going to have attach the proof of funds to say that they have enough of the cash to close. Otherwise, you're going to put verification of cash to close, the proof of funds, here. And it defaults that it's attached to the offer. But if you don't have it, you can click the box and say within 3 days or how many days I'll have it to you. Sometimes if they're writing an offer on the weekend, they don't have the proof of funds for you. They'll get it on Monday when the bank opens. Very rarely that happens because you're going to ask for that ahead of time and have it on file. But sometimes if you met somebody at an open house or something, they just don't have everything in right away. Verification of loan application. This is your lender letter. It's attached to the offer as default. And we're going to mark, is it a pre-qual or is it a pre-approval? Okay, we really want pre-approval, so try to get the pre-approval. Almost never do you get a free, fully underwritten one, but pre-approval. Okay, then we're going to go to the next section, a final verification of condition. That's your VP, verification of property. That defaults at 5 days before close of escrow. Just leave that 5 days before close of escrow, and that's when you're going to have the VP done. Unless there's something like somebody's on vacation or something and you would need to change it. Assignment request, that means everybody who's listed on this contract is going to be on the contract. If we need to add anybody or make any changes, we have 17 days to do so, and after that we can't. Okay, now we're going to your contingencies. So your contingencies all default at 17 days. Now this is where your negotiations come in. This is where you're going to be talking with your lender. So the loan defaults at 17 days, and The appraisal of defaults to 17 days, and all your inspection and investigations. Now, if you want it to be stronger, you would lower these. The appraisal and the loan, you get that approval from the lender. If you want close of escrow to be sooner than 30 days, you want to get that approved by the lender too. But otherwise, if your client wants to make it stronger, they can lower the inspection and investigation contingencies. You can go down to 10 days, 12 days, but make sure you allow yourself time to schedule inspections, get all the disclosures, everything in and reviewed, okay? And this is all part of negotiation. So for this, we're going to leave everything at 17 days, okay? Just for this example, but you can change these to be lower. Time of possession, this is upon recordation. So as soon as it records and you get that email from escrow that says, congratulations, we're on record, it's recorded, then you can give the keys to your client unless you decide 6 o'clock that night, the sellers won't be out in time or something like that, then you can mark that down. Okay, and this is seller occupied or vacant units. So we're going to use an SIP, seller, I just went on a blank. So seller occupied property, seller in possession, SIP, seller in possession. So a seller in possession form for 29 days or less. So that means if you want to let the seller live there for a little while for a daily amount or even free, then you're going to use that form, seller in possession form. If it's 29 days or less, if it's 30 days or more, then they're going to be a tenant. So you're going to use the RLAS form. Okay, so that you're going to mark which box you're going to use. Now, if you do an SIP, I suggest you don't go any more than 21 days, just in case they don't leave. I've had that before. So my suggestion is never make it longer than 3 weeks. But you legally can go up to 29 days, but then, might have some issues if they don't get out. Okay, so then we're going to go down to seller delivery of documents. So if you lower your inspection contingency, say to 12 days, then you want to lower this for the seller to give you documents and everything for your client because they want to have time to review it. So if you lower it to 10 or 12 days for inspection and investigation, and they don't get the documents till 7 days later, that only gives them 3 days to review. So you want to lower this maybe to 5 days if you've lowered those other ones. I don't mess with these at all. I leave these because these are other people. Sign and return escrow holder provisions. That's escrow. That's already a very quick turnaround right there. So we're going to leave those. Paying HOA. All the HOA is going to be the seller pulling all of that as well. Install smoke alarm, carbon monoxide detectors, water heater bracing. I leave that at 7 because that's going to be during our inspection anyway. But that is for the seller to do that too. So all of that is an evidence of representation authority that is defaults at 3 days to make sure who's allowed to sell the house. All right, so now we get to the fun part, right? So now this is items included. So this is where we looked at the MLS and what we saw that was included with it. And this might be something that other things that are on the property that your client wants to. So in this case, we know the stove was included. We wrote it down that the refrigerator was listed as an appliance. So we're gonna ask for the refrigerator too. Dishwasher, microwave. Even though you think dishwasher's built in, it should stay, I always mark it. I don't want them taking out the dishwasher. And if there's something else in there that they want, it has security feature. We're going to mark the security equipment and the security cameras. We might want those. We might want the smart home to stay. So you're going to mark things that you would like to stay. You know what? They had a shed in the back. I don't know. I'm just making this up now. Not in the actual listing. I didn't look, but in it as a makeup. There was a shed in the backyard and my clients want that shed. So we're going to mark a box here. We're going to say existing shed in backyard. Okay, so we're going to say that we want that to be included. Now they had in the backyard, not in this listing, but as a example, they had a playground equipment for kids, and my client doesn't want that. They don't want that to stay, so they're going to say we want this excluded. Playground equipment. We're going to say we want that gone, so we're going to put that in there as to leave. Bathroom mirrors are automatically put in there because there were times when people took their framed mirrors when they sold the house and left with the mirror. So now this is automatically in there. You got to leave the bathroom mirror. Funny, huh? Okay, so now we're going to look at who's paying for what. Okay, so the natural hazard, we already know that they already pulled the natural hazard, right? My client, Mickey and Minnie Mousse, they're okay with the one that was pulled, and it was with disclosure source right here. Okay, so I'm going to mark the box that is provided by, and my client wants the seller to pay for that. Okay, I always mark environmental. So my client's asking for the seller to pay for that. It's only like $100 or so. In this case, it's not in a wildfire. The NHG doesn't show it in a high wildfire, so we're gonna take that off. Smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detector, water heat bracing, that's going to be the seller's responsibility. It's their house. We want to make sure that's their responsibility to have those in working order. These two, this is hardly anything that we need up here in Northern California, so we're going to leave these blank. Okay. Escrow, it's already marked as plaster because we put it on the cover sheet. And in this case, typically, this is what's going on right now in the market. Escrow is being split by both. So we're going to hit both. And then owner's title is also plaster title, and we're going to ask the seller to pay for that. That's what's going right now. So in different markets, you'll do different things in different negotiations. If they have, if they have a lot of offers on the table, and we want to make ours stronger and net the seller a little bit more money, we might see if the buyer wants to pay for these, right? So that might be a negotiating tactic. But for now, for this example, escrow is going to be split and title is going to be paid by seller. Buyer's lender is always for the buyer. Buyer's lender title insurance, because it's part of the loan. So that always goes to the buyer. County transfer tax, we're going to ask the seller to pay the county transfer tax. And city transfer tax, unless you know, a lot of places don't have city transfer tax, but we're going to put seller, and unless you know, you don't have to check the box, but you can put if applicable here. Okay. HOA, we know it has an HOA. So HOA automatically goes to seller. The cert fee is part of the loan, so that goes to the buyer. HOA transfer fees, we want the seller to pay for that. Okay. Private transfer fees. Is there a private transfer fee? We don't know. Maybe some of them are hidden. It automatically defaults to seller unless otherwise noted. Sometimes people will say there is a transfer fee. They'll put it in the confidential remarks that the buyer is to pay. That's up to your buyer if they want to pay it, how you want to write it. But just so you know, it automatically defaults to seller. Then we have the home warranty. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. This is where I'm going to pick on you when you send me your offers to review. So the home warranty, depending on who you want to pay for it, Mickey and Minnie, they want to pay for it themselves. So we're going to mark buyer. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the brochures. They picked the Old Republic brochure. But what you're going to do is you're going to look at the brochures, and you're going to look at it and itemize and figure out what they want to be covered in the home warranty. They need to look at the brochures and find which plan. So I didn't look at the Old Republic the plan right now for this video, but I'm going to say, that it's not going to be over $600. And the plan they want is the roller coaster plan to include HVAC. Okay, there isn't such a thing as a roller coaster plan on any home warranty, but I'm using that as an example here. But you'll find if it's the platinum plan, if it's, the extended plan, whatever, you'll find what plan they want and how much the dollar amount that it covers. So you'll put it in here and you'll notate what plan, because when your TC or escrow is ordering the home warranty, they need to know what to order. And if you just put the home, the company, they don't know what your client wants to order. So you need the company, you need the amount, and you need what plan is chosen by your buyer. Okay? Very important. This is an important part here. Then we're going to go down, we're going to go to the next part. And is it a probate? Is it, any of these in here? Most of the time it won't be, but if it is, you're going to check the box. If there's any addendum that you're going to include with it, for instance, if I said, I'm related to Mickey Mouse, so I might put an addendum saying agent is related to the buyer, then you could put that in there. If it has a septic, if it is a 1031 exchange, you'll mark these. If it's a short sale, you're going to mark what box, and it'll automatically produce the disclosure or addendum or form that's needed for it. Then the different advisories. These ones are automatic, but you can mark any in here that you might need. If it's in a high wildfire zone, you would mark that. If it's in a trust, you'll mark this one. You're going to check whichever one you want. A lot of times I do like to add the statewide buyer and seller advisory because it is an added extra protection legally. And then now we're down to all the definitions, the paragraphs that define everything that was in the grid. Okay, we're going to skip. Well, you should read these and know these, yes, but we're going to skip down for this example because you're filling out this. This is our legal form for arbitration. And then here we go. Now here's the signature forms. So this says this RPA has 17 pages. Buyer acknowledges receipt of, has read, and understands every page. It's your job to go over this RPA with your buyers and make sure they understand it. So go over it, verbally explain it to them so they understand what they're signing. Okay, then they'll sign here and date, and you'll do that through DigiSign or DocuSign. If it's in a trust, you're going to mark this box and you're going to name the exact name of the trust. And then you'll mark this box that they are authorized signer of the trust. Excuse me. And if it's in a trust, you're going to put it in the trust name. Okay. And then it comes down to the acceptance. This is the acceptance side. So then once you have it all signed, you're going to send it to the agent, and I'll go over that in just a minute. And when it's returned, this is where the client, let's say that they were countering it. So the seller is going to sign here, and they're going to check this box, seller counter offer. So basically, they're agreeing is subject to a counter offer. Okay. If they agree to the offer itself, they won't check any of these boxes, and they're going to just sign it and be in agreement, and you'll be in escrow. Easy peasy. Okay. These are the spots where you need to sign. Make sure you're signing in the areas you need to sign, and your buyers are signing and initialing in the areas they need to sign in an initial. Okay. Then we have the federal reporting requirement purchase addendum. This is a new form, October of 25. This is the requirements that we have to report everything, right? We have to let everybody know everything. So they're going to sign there. Buyer's investigation advisory. This is telling the buyer that we're recommending that they get as many and all investigation that they possibly can. And here is some, but not limited to, ideas of what they can research before buying the house. Possible representation of more than one buyer. This is PRBS. This is for, say, for instance, I'm representing somebody from Keller Williams Roseville, and you're representing somebody from Keller Williams Roseville. I've got the seller, you've got the buyer. we're both representing our own client, but our broker owns it all. The umbrella is our broker, KW Roseville. So our broker is representing both sides, but we're representing each. So we have to let them know that there's a possibility that the broker could be on both sides, okay? Also that your buyer, you're showing your buyer this house, but you're also showing your buyers other houses, and another one might be KW Roseville, okay? And they're going to sign that, excuse me. And then the fair housing, very important to go over this with your clients. The fair housing also states that we cannot do letters from the heart. So your buyer can't write a letter, dear seller, here's why you should choose me as your buyer type of letter, unless the seller in their contract says they will accept them. Otherwise, they're not supposed to be viewing them. Okay. Insurance advisory, letting them know to get homeowners insurance. I asked my buyers to look up and get a quote immediately as part of their inspection, so they know if that's the amount they want to pay for homeowners insurance, if it's something that they're surprised about, or if they want to include that, because that's a make or break, and I'd rather break it at the beginning of escrow than at the end. Wire fraud, super important to discuss wire fraud with your clients before they transfer any money, to confirm the wiring instructions. Have them call escrow directly. And then California Consumer Privacy Act. This is fun because this says that their information isn't necessarily safe, and it will be sold. It's just what happens. It's going to be sold. It's going to be out there. They're going to start getting information from all different kinds of lenders and everything about refi, and it's just part of the part of the world we're in. And that's it, you guys. So then what you're going to do is, when you fill it out, you're going to send it to me. I'm going to review it and make sure that everything's filled out and everything's correct, so you're covered, right? Protected. Then once I say, yay, groovy, it looks good, then you're going to save it as a PDF, and then you're going to write an email. You write an email to the listing agent, and you're going to write an email telling the listing agent you have an offer. You're going to introduce your lender and ask your lender to give them a call after you write the offer, and then tell a little bit about your client if you want in that letter email. Attached with that is going to be your RPA, your lender pre-approval letter, your proof of funds. And then if they had anything attached, which they did, they had a prelim attached, they had an NHD attached, I would have my buyer initial those, saying, yes, I saw these and I'm taking these in consideration as part of my offer. So I'm going to stop sharing them. So what you're going to do is put all those as attachments onto your email. Write your email as pretty as possible. You can even use ChatGPT to help you, write it in the manner you want it written. And then CC your lender. If your lender wants to be CC'd on it, CC your lender, and then send it. And then give the agent a text or a call and let them know, I just submitted an offer to you. Have your lender give the listing agent a call to, confirm the how solid the buyer is and to introduce themselves. And then you know what's going to happen? Your offer is going to get accepted. You can be in escrow. You can be excited. We're going to all cheer and support and be excited. And that's exactly how it's going to go. Sometimes there's other bumps on the road, but that's an overview of how to write your offer. And if you need any help after that, give me a call. Write it the best you can. Give me a call if you have questions on anything. But as soon as you've written it up, send it to me so I can review it, okay? I'm so excited for you, and I hope this wasn't too long for you, but at least it's going to get you on the right path, and you can pause and rewind and do whatever you want, okay? Go get them. All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much, you guys.